It is a serious problem, has been for years. Many people are living within our community. Lead poisoning more specifically.
In Syracuse, each year hundreds of children are still poisoned in their own home.
It's happening 3 times the rate of children who were poisoned by lead in Flint, Michigan.
This neurotoxin can accumulate in your body over time, causing severe health problems and death.
Families impacted by lead poisoning are demanding more from the city to protect their children.
My twins was affected with lead poisoning back in 2018, 2019, somewhere around there. And now I'm learning, like, wait, hold on. You're saying it's gonna affect my baby's brain. My baby is never gonna be able to reach the highest level that he possibly could reach. Like, wait, what does that mean? Like, what are we talking about here? I got into a really bad, seeing them change and feeling like I failed them. Because as a parent, your first job is to protect your kids. That's any parent, any good parent. That their first job is to make sure that their children are protected in any way, shape, or form. So that makes you feel like kind of like this big as a parent. Like, damn, I didn't do my due diligence and make sure that the home was safe.
So I have a brother who is 43 years old. He was poisoned on the south side of Syracuse when he was 2 years old. He went from being a kid who was playful, running around the yard and playing with all of us, to barely speaking, being angry all the time, having regressions where he was going back to things that he had done as an infant. So he was wetting his pants again, wetting the bed, unable to complete tasks like feeding himself and doing things that he had been doing prior.
My name is Camry LaRue, and when I was 6 months old, I tested positive for lead in my blood. There were some learning disabilities with math and being able to focus. I struggled to want to look at people while they were talking, and that led a lot of teachers to thinking I wasn't paying attention. I just would kind of stare out of the window and absorb everything.
Lead is an additive that is found in many consumer products, paint being one of them, and paint being the primary source of lead exposure in our community. When someone is exposed to lead, it can cause lifelong health impacts.
This lead issue is a social, an economic, and environmental injustice. This predominantly and disproportionately impacts children of color.
It's impossible to not feel left behind. Why are we sort of left to breathe in toxins in our environment? Why are we left to have contaminated drinking water?
It's really hard to get your arms around poverty, and especially cyclical poverty and generational poverty. This is one way you can impact it. This is one way you can break the cycle and stop it, is by making sure that kids don't have reduced IQ, they don't have problems with anger management, they don't have these things starting out in school.
Lead is one of those things that is 100% preventable. But for whatever reason, this is a decades-old issue, and we can't seem to figure it out.
No other child. Like, it's time to stop that. We gotta look out for our babies. That's our most precious gift, man.
Syracuse being a very old community, the majority of our occupied housing stock is built before the ban on lead paint. Lead in paint was banned in 1978. Most of the housing stock in the city of Syracuse was built before 1940. And the older the housing, the more difficult it is to maintain and the more likely that it is for there to be lead present there.
So we realized as a community foundation, we were spending a lot of money on helping children succeed in school. And the lead poisoning was undermining all those investments. Those children really couldn't succeed and reach the levels that they could otherwise if they were being poisoned. So we had to do something about it. It was really undermining all of our other investments in our future, in our community, in our children.
Lead Safe CNY is using participatory budgeting to engage the community in making decisions about how to spend $150,000 to increase the number of children who get screened for lead poisoning.
Success is that we start to see these children coming in and getting tested. That is the most important thing. With the loss of testing at WIC, we saw a decline of 1,000 tests per year. So we know we're missing a big portion of the population. If we could see those children getting those tests at 1 and 2, being able to work with those families and get those interventions early so that we can ensure the best possible outcome for those children, that's what I'd like to see.
Participatory budgeting is a tool by which it empowers citizens to come together and decide what to do with a pot of money around an issue that they care about. So that's kind of why we decided to do that, because we wanted to hear from residents, well, what are the barriers to getting testing? What's going on with that? What happens after you get the test? What types of supports are you offered, if any? And then how can we as a foundation help support that and center their experience in that process and come up with some solutions?
And if you look around the room, you will see there's some data on some of these easels here, and we're going to talk a little bit about that later. But what that data indicated to us was that a great deal of our homes and our children have not been tested in the last 2.5 years. And we seem to be kind of going back in this circle of dealing with a lead crisis again. And so we're here to learn about how we got here, and then what we can do about it.
In our community, lead dust and lead paint tend to be the most prominent source of exposure for children in the community. And windows, doors, porches, and floors is the primary source of exposure.
If in some of these communities, every 1 in 4 children or 1 in 5 children has impulse control issues or behavioral control issues, how does that affect the educational system for everyone? Later on in life, as many of these people who have poor impulse control end up in the criminal justice system, what does that do to our society, and what does it do to Syracuse as a whole?
A portion of the meetings in the agenda, there was always lead education that we presented before we broke off into groups in the session. So we had a lot of folks come. We wanted a nice mix of people. We wanted affected families to come and talk about their experience. We wanted to hear from healthcare professionals. We wanted to hear from the county. We wanted to hear from the city. And then we had our grassroots organizations. People are not aware, and we need more people to get in on this so that the more people know, the more we can prevent it and keep it from happening.
And we've got a great group of facilitators here, the Layla ambassadors. Layla, do you want to raise your hands? Yes.
Layla's Got You is an empowerment campaign for African American young women between the ages of 16 and 25. And most of our work is centered on health equity efforts, but we also spend a great deal of time just sort of talking with local young women, convening them, so bringing them together, giving them a space to connect with one another and talk about issues that are important to them. And we just get out there and work on them. We partner with other organizations. We do our best to collaborate and make change. The folks at Community Foundation reached out and they talked with us about this idea they had for a participatory budgeting project. And so they invited us in to sort of be their recruitment arm and to help with some of the facilitation during the community meetings.
We'll kind of do like round robin to give everybody a chance to speak. When we have like questions, and we'll discuss like the challenges and different things like that.
So residents had a chance to engage with each other at tables where they talked about their lived experiences, they shared their sense of what they thought about the lead issue, their perspectives, and then there were affected families there who kind of talked about what they had to go through, and they wrote down what those barriers were.
When I bought my house, you check that box that say that you realize that it can have lead in it because it's built before '78, but they don't give you any other information as far as like, oh, you should test every 3 years, or you should. Right. And I took the home headquarters class too, and I don't remember any of that being in there.
I work for the city now and didn't know we still had the program.
Right.
And I've been working there for 5 years.
After the residents were able to share their personal information and share what they thought about the issue, then they would get to a brainstorm phase. Well, what can we do? How do we address those barriers? What are some of the things we need to do? And then from that, they went to creating solutions.
We want you to get creative. We want you to get wild. We want you to get crazy. Use your imagination to come up with as many ideas as you can.
My idea would be to do pop-up testing at churches, mosques, temples, schools, libraries, community centers.
PBS has, with all their children's programs, very informational, and kids learn a lot from it. So having an app would actually sort of put the ball in the kids' space instead of putting it in the parents' space and let them drive the discussion.
Okay, this is far-fetched.
Go for it.
There's no far-fetched here.
Reach out to some of the paint companies that started this whole problem to see if they can't be a little bit more invested in every community in the United States.
At the end of each of those meetings, they were given 3 stickers to do a process called Dotmocracy, and each table will put up its best top 3 ideas so that all the other tables kind of do a gallery walk and see what everyone else was thinking, and then they will put their dots and vote for the things they thought resonated the most and would best address the need. And so we took those transcripts, and then that became the basis for our request for proposals from the nonprofits and the grassroots groups.
I have to say, in all fairness, another group of people who are not in this conversation are landlords. There are good landlords and there are bad landlords. They're all in it for a profit. It's a business. But they are also not in this conversation, and they need to be. Housing is like healthcare, like water, food. It's an essential. There are no consequences for landlords. Why do we have to incentivize or motivate landlords to stop poisoning children with lead paint?
You don't know how hard it is to sit back and watch your kids kind of deteriorate in front of your eyes. You don't know how hard it is to get phone calls every day from the school and have to stop your day and work because your child is acting out and the teacher has no idea how to help your child because they don't know how to deal with lead-affected children. You don't know what it's like to feel like you failed your kids, because that's what it feels like I failed them. That's the ultimate smack to the face. And then my biggest thing why I really started to become the voice, you know what I was really looking for? Just somebody, anybody, from the health department, the mayor's office, one of my landlords. You know what, Darlene? I apologize. Let me apologize to you and your family. We got none of that. They simply don't care. My name is Darlene. I live on the north side of Syracuse. My name is not Karen. I don't live out in West Baldwinville. So they could really care less. To them, I'm nothing. My kids deserve to get what they have going through, and that's exactly how they make us feel.
Question? Go ahead.
Just a quick question. What is the health department going to do to get the community's trust back? There is a disconnect between the community and the health department. So my question to Ms. Lewis, what are you going to do to gain back the trust of your community?
What I am doing to gain the trust of the community for my program is coming to every meeting where this conversation is taking place, being in this room to answer your questions and provide information, and doing whatever I can that is within the scope of my responsibility to help to make the needed changes for this community.
I'm really big on the kitchen table talk model, and I definitely see this happening with the participatory budgeting process. If you're not familiar with the kitchen table talk model, it's basically going into people's kitchens, meeting them where they're at, and talking with them, not to them, and that's huge. A lot of us were born and raised in Syracuse and we're doing this work, but because we're doing this work, there might be a perception that we're looking at numbers all day and we're not really listening. But having this bridge to be able to go to the different community centers and different neighborhoods and speak with people and build that trust has been invaluable.
Just because we do the work don't mean that we necessarily are the experts in this area. And so we think it's extremely important to give folks that have lived experiences power, right, to decide what impact looks like in their community. And so that is essentially the importance of this kind of trust-based philanthropy method.
In September through February, we hosted a number of meetings all around Syracuse to collect your ideas, to collect public ideas about how to spend this money. We took all of those ideas, they were sent to Lead Safe CNY, and then shared with agencies and organizations who used the public's ideas to develop proposals for using this $150,000. Tonight, we're gonna present those proposals to you. We're gonna do a preliminary voting, but in April and May, there will be more community-wide voting, so you will get to choose which of these proposals should be funded. Right? Your voice here is what counts. You have the power to decide.
Peace Inc. is proposing a partnership-led and formal training for interested staff and community members to become lead ambassadors, to an advocacy and media-based campaign to continue that work.
A rapid leadership development program in which we will offer incentives in the forms of tickets to take your kids to do cool stuff, cash or gift cards. And so the system is based on a CHIPS system. So you get a green chip, that chip at the end of that screening tool tells you to go get your kid tested. You go get your kid tested, you get $25. Then you get a blue chip.
Our proposal is you can call. We will provide information on how to get in contact with us, and we will go ahead and schedule you a Lyft ride at no cost to take you to the appointment and back.
Are the rides to and from to go to the doctor to say, I suspect my child has lead, I'd like them to be tested? Or is it for the actual testing of the lead, or both?
I didn't hear anything about accessibility, language accessibility, and didn't hear any groups that work with New Americans mentioned.
So all of the feedback tonight is going to go to the agencies, and they're going to improve their proposals based on what you said. And then when the community votes at the end of April, we'll have much more information that's going to unpack this in ways that are clear, that tell you what to look for, how they're going to use the money.
So tonight, you're going to hear from four. Baby Back Incorporated, Mr. Gerald Seals, Center for Core Innovation, Syracuse Peacemaking Project, United Way, and Village Birth International. They're the anchor applicant for Doula for a Queen and the Sankofa Healing Center.
We are planning on hiring 1 full-time worker and 2 outreach workers, and we are looking to offer incentives to family to raise awareness and get tested.
Their proposals received a ton of votes. Ours got a lot of votes. We got together afterwards and we were like, you know what, let's join forces to tackle this issue together, and let's pull together the best pieces of both proposals and team up.
We received a lot of feedback about our lead awareness kits last time around. So the information part of the kit will contain the lead tip cards that you get from the county right now. We also decided to, in the cleaning kit, to include a lot of the disposable items. Things like paper towels, all-purpose cleaners.
We want to add additional education for lead awareness and testing for our doulas who are serving, and also train up to about 4 or 5 more doulas. We want to expand pregnancy and postpartum education that includes also lead awareness and testing, and also have follow-up with Ms. Vicky for our perinatal health specialists if they test positive, and whatever community resources that they have.
The greatest success comes when the community is activated. You know, people feeling ownership in the community and feeling a part of the community, and that stuff really goes a tremendous way to solving a lot of the problems.
Once we take ownership in that process, we also take pride in the product that comes out of that process.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Participatory Budgeting Voting Night event. I am here with the incredible Kiana Williams, the woman behind this incredible project. So tonight,
I know.
Tonight, one of them is going to receive $150,000.
Yes, one of the proposals will win it.
Yeah,
It's exciting. It's also a little nerve-wracking. There's tension, you know.
But the turnout was incredible.
I think that people have a lot of fear around participatory budgeting because there's a lot of opportunity to fail. There's a lot of pitfalls that you can enter into. And if you're not careful, you can lose the trust of your community. There were so many aha moments. There were a lot of lessons learned. There were some very heated discussions. This is a issue that people are very passionate about, and it was very important to all the partners and to myself to try our best, even if we failed, to at least show to our community that we heard everything they said, and we wanted to validate it to the best of our ability.
I'm very proud of the Layla ambassadors because they came in and they got it done. They were able to be level-headed, even when we did have some people who were like passionate. If there were like discrepancies, they were able to keep it very professional.
So although it was a little rocky, you know, I think that's what the training was for, to teach you the do's and don'ts and how to like control the conversation and bring it back and let everybody know like, hey, we're all here fighting for the same thing. You know what I mean? But at the same time, just like being able to hear the community and their voices and letting them be heard.
There are certainly occasions on which community members are called to the table and they share their ideas, and then nothing really comes of the things that they shared. This was an opportunity for community members to share. Those ideas were collected, and then the Community Foundation opened up an RFP to local nonprofit organizations that already have relationships and presence and stake in the community, and those folks were able to reach out and apply for those dollars. So essentially, community members were voting amongst programs that they already work with and already know, which was really important.
481 votes. It was very close all day, and then this one proposal pulled ahead. So, are y'all ready? Ready. I'm so excited. With 181 votes, Village Birth International.
After the voting party, or being in the voting party, just seeing the community come together like that, I almost started crying. It was powerful. And I'm just glad that God worked through me to make that happen. And I'm overjoyed, I'm crying, because I know that there's so many families that are gonna be able to be better off because of what we did, even if it's just the $150,000 and that's a drop in the bucket for the process. But I know there's gonna be some babies that are gonna be living happier, healthier lives because of what we did. And we did that together. And to me, that's a win. That's a win.
I don't think people maybe they do realize it, but it is so hard to get money for this work, and we know it saves lives. And so, it means so much more when our community comes out and they support our project, and they realize that the families on the south side, north side, east side, west side, whoever gets a doula through our program is going to be impacted and get this information. And we hope that these babies and these pregnant moms will be able to survive, and not just survive, but thrive in our community.
Sequoia and I, we've been doing this work for so long together, and I cannot tell you how many no's we've had from funders. We get so many no's. Meanwhile, we keep doing it. We keep knowing that this work is critical and is necessary. Reproductive justice is possible. And then to get an opportunity from Kiana like this to do participatory budgeting and have our community say yes to us, it is so validating after so many no's to have our community say yes to us. So yes. I just want to thank everyone who voted, and I have to stop talking before I cry. Yes.
I've seen so many organizations get money and claim they're going to do this and do that, and they don't. So when I seen Sankofa come in, I'm like, oh, she's leading this? Oh yeah, if she gets this money, I know it's going to go into the community. And so when I got the call last night and they was like, the doulas won, I was like, yeah, I'm so excited, yes. So I'm excited. I thought that was dope.
I think at the end, we finally got to our destination, and we learned a lot of lessons to go forward, so we know what not to do next time, and we know what to add and what to bring.
I feel the process has been successful, and now we're ready to do the work, because this is just the tip of the iceberg. We're just getting the work started. So this was, so now we're phase B, right? We did phase A, now we're phase B. The winning proposal is something that's radically different, that hasn't been tried in the community before, and so I'm very excited to see that. But overall, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next.